Welcome back to my channel. My name is Miss Campbell, and today I'm making a video by request from several teachers who slid into my DMs on Instagram and asked me for some tips so that they can have a successful first year of teaching. So I have accumulated my top 3 classroom management tips for you. And this is not just for first year teachers, this can be for any teacher, honestly. And these are things that every teacher should be doing, especially if you're teaching younger grades. Before I get started, I do want to talk a little bit about my first year of teaching. And I do want to say that I had a terrible first year. So I know you probably hear a lot of nightmares, stories about teachers' first years of teaching because it is actually a nightmare. Like, I used to cry every day. I had no idea what I was doing. I almost got fired because my classroom was terrible. And my classroom was terrible, not because of my kids, not because of the school I was teaching at, but it was terrible because of me as the teacher. And I think that if more teachers took accountability for why their classroom sucks, then we would have better classrooms. Because a lot of times, and this is what I even did in my first year, I was blaming the kids, like, oh, these kids, they don't listen. Oh, like, they probably don't listen at home, blah, blah, blah. And first of all, please don't do that, because that's just not a good look. You don't want to just be blaming everyone else for why your classroom sucks. And again, like, I used to do that, and my Teach for America coach, he actually was like, you need to take accountability. And he was right. Camelia, what's up? I taught in Sacramento, which is where I was raised. I went to school in South Sacramento and I taught in Oak Park. I was placed in Stockton originally through Teach for America. However, I asked them if they could place me in Sacramento because I really wanted to teach in the area that I grew up in. Oak Park is about 10 to 15 minutes away from where I actually grew up. So, I wanted to like teach in an area that I felt like kids kind of looked like me. And it was actually like a great group of students. But like I said, it was me who was the problem my first year, okay? You are in control of your classroom. And if you do not set up your class for success, then your classroom will be a hot mess. And I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart because I don't want your classroom to be a hot mess like mine was. My first classroom management tip is to make sure that you have everyone's attention before you start speaking. Whether you're giving directions, whether you're making an announcement, whatever, you should have complete silence before you start saying anything to your class. And this doesn't just apply to the teacher. You should be teaching your class that when one person is speaking and they're supposed to be speaking, then everyone else should be quiet so that we're giving that person respect. And that could help to avoid a lot of things. That could help to avoid you screaming over your classroom, which you really should never be screaming at your kids. And I used to scream at my students my first year, and it was terrible. Like, it was actually like, it felt bad to do that. And it was because I wasn't waiting until everyone was quiet. I was getting frustrated, and it just, trust me, you just want to make sure that you have everyone's attention. And sometimes it may take a while to do that, but you're better off waiting than to just trying to like give directions when people are not paying attention. So you're probably asking yourself, okay, but how do I get everyone's attention? So I'm going to just go old school and tell you to narrate. And if you've been in any type of teacher training, you probably know what narrating means. However, I'm going to just say it just in case you haven't. So narrating means that you are basically narrating the behavior that's happening in the classroom that you want the students to repeat or to emulate. So, for example, if I want everyone's eyes on me and their mouth closed so I can start giving directions, I'm going to say, wow, table 1 has everyone's eyes on me and their voices off. And then you'll start to see other tables or other kids doing what you just said. And I know it probably sounds corny, but it really does work. Now, you are going to be talking a lot. However, it does work. It works whether you're talking to like the whole class or whether you're at the carpet and you want people to be sitting crisscross applesauce, or you want them to be focused on something. You can just say, wow, Malia's eyes are on me and she's sitting crisscross applesauce. I wonder if the entire row can sit just like Malia's sitting. Or, wow, the green and red row, they all have their voices off. And just like just keep narrating things and you'll see that will make a difference, okay? Tip number 2 is to give explicit directions and to scaffold directions. So what I mean by that is when you're giving a direction, it shouldn't just be like a broad statement. Like, all right, everyone, get in line. There's so many ways students can get in line. They could jump in line. They could scream while they're going in line. They could do a lot of things. But if you're not explicit on what you want them to do, then they can do whatever they want as long as they're listening to what you're saying, right? So I'm going to give you an example of the broad direction of everyone get in line. I would recommend, especially for a kindergarten classroom, that if your classroom is broken up by sections, like groups, I would say, okay, when I say go, table 1 is going to stand up, push in their chairs without any talking. Go. So now let's move on to try to get them to walk to the line. When I say, or let's mix it up. When I count to 3, table 1 is going to walk like a giraffe on their tippy toes without any talking because giraffes don't talk. And then everyone else is going to take out their binoculars and watch table 1 walk like a giraffe without any talking to the line. 1, 2, 3. And then you'll watch them walk to the line like a giraffe without any talking. And when you tell the class to put on their binoculars, that actually is giving them something to do because they're not just sitting there waiting for their turn, right? And so when you give those directions and you feel like they modeled it great, then you can move on to another table. But if they did not model it properly, then just have them have a seat and then move on to a different table and see if they can show you like, Malia actually, she was talking a little bit. Actually, don't put them on blast like that, but you could say, oh man, I heard someone from table 1 talking. I'm going to see if we can actually have table 2 show us. And then you'll have table 2 do it until like they see a table that does it the way that they're supposed to, because you want it to be modeled. All right, so that was tip number 2, which is to give explicit and scaffolded directions. And that could be applied to academics as well. So please make sure that you are incorporating that tip because it will be helpful, especially for the younger students. Number 3 is to model every activity that you're telling your students to do. So just like you had the table show the kids how to walk to line, whatever activity you want your students to do, whether that be playing with their Play-Doh, whether it be sitting at the carpet, you have to show them how to do it because they don't know. You have to assume that every kid that comes in the classroom just is a blank slate and you have to teach them everything because that's most likely going to be the case, especially for those younger students, right? So you definitely want to either show it yourself or you can have a student show them. So like, let's just say you're doing Play-Doh numbers with your class or whatever. You want to actually show them how to open the Play-Doh, how to put it back in the container, close it, put it in the bin where it belongs, and just show them everything. And there should be a place for every single thing within your classroom. Be organized because that will help you in the long run. If you don't know where your things are, and your classroom looks scattered, your classroom will just feel uncomfortable to not only you, but to your students as well. The 3 classroom management tips that I gave you today were to 1, wait until you have everyone's attention before you speak. 2, give explicit directions and scaffold those directions. Number 3, model the activity that you're asking your students to perform. You could have a student do it or you could have the teacher do it. So I really hope that these were helpful. Please let me know in the comment section which one was the most helpful for you. And I am taking video requests, so if you want to know about anything, let me know in the comment section and I will definitely try to make them. Because actually this video was kind of fun to make. This is the first video that I made where it was like giving you advice. And I don't know, I never really did one of these because I don't want to seem like a Mrs. Know-it-all, but you know, I do post videos on my Instagram and people are like, wow, your classroom management skills are like pretty good. And I'm like, they actually are pretty good. So hopefully you could take some of these tips to have your classroom run a little bit more smoothly. And I will catch you in the next video.